ability to understand reading comprehension is the ability to understand information presented in the written form. What is the difference between reading and comprehension? The goal of reading is to gain information, whether it is what happens to the characters in a story or learning about the world. Reading fluency is the speed and accuracy of decoding words. Reading comprehension is the ability to understand what you are reading. Why is reading and comprehension important? The purpose of reading is comprehension. Getting meaning from written text. A major goal of reading comprehension instruction, therefore, is to help students develop the knowledge, skills, and experiences they have must if they are to become competent and enthusiastic reader. How can I improve my comprehension skill? The following are 7 simple strategies you can use to work on your comprehension skills. Number 1, improve your vocabulary. Number 2, come up with questions about the text you are reading. Number 3, use context clues. Number 4, look for the main idea. Number 5, write a summary of what you read. Number 6, break up the reading into smaller sections. Number 7, pace yourself. How does reading improve your vocabulary? Reading is the best way to improve your vocabulary. The context of articles, stories, and conversations helps you figure out and understand the meaning of English words in the text that are new to you. Reading also provides repetition of vocabulary words you have already learned to help you remember them. Strategies for reading comprehension. Story maps. Story grammar includes setting, when and where the story takes place, which can change over the course of the story. Characters, the people or animals in the story, including the protagonist, main character, whose motivations and action drive the story. Plot, the storyline, which typically includes one or more problems or conflicts that the protagonist must address and ultimately resolve. Theme, the overriding lesson or main idea that the author wants a reader to glean from the story. What are the key comprehension strategies to teach? Activating and using background knowledge. This strategy requires readers to activate their background knowledge and to use that knowledge to help them understand what they are reading. Generating and asking questions. This strategy involves readers asking themselves a question throughout the reading of a text. Making inference. This strategy requires readers to evaluate or draw conclusions from information in the text. Authors often provide clues that readers can use to read between the lines by making inferences that combine information in the text with their background knowledge. Predicting. This strategy involves the ability of readers to get meaning from a text by making informed predictions. Good readers use predicting as a way to connect their existing knowledge to new information from a text to get meaning from what they read. Summarizing. This strategy involves the ability of readers to pull together or synthesize information in a text so as to explain in their own words what the text is about. Summarizing is an important strategy because it can enable readers to recall text quickly. Visualization. Visualizing. This involves the ability of readers to make mental images of a text as a way to understand the process or event that encounter during reading. This ability can be an indication that a reader understands a text. This passage can be considered as an example for reading comprehension. Aspirin origins go back at least as early as 1758. In that year, Englishman Edward Stone noticed a distinctive bitter flavor in that bark of the willow tree. To Stone, this particular bark seemed to have much in common with porcupine bark, which had been used medicinally since the 1640s to bring down fevers and to treat malaria. Stone decided to test the effectiveness of the willow bark. He obtained some pulverized it into tiny pieces and conducted the experiments on its properties. His thesis demonstrated that this pulverized willow bark was effective both in reducing high temperatures and in relieving aches and pains. In 1763, Stone presented these findings to the British Royal Society. Several decades later, further studies on the medicinal value of the willow bark were being conducted by two Italian scientists. These chemists, Brugnatelli and Fontana, determined that the active chemical that was responsible for the medicinal characteristics in the willow bark was the chemical salicin, which is the active ingredient of today's aspirin. طلاب هاي القطعة ودرسنا هو أصلاً اليوم محاضرتنا عن كيفية استيعاب القراءة. فهاي القطعة إنه إذا قدرتوا تستوعبوها بمعنى إنه تجيكم مجموعة أسئلة، وهاي الأسئلة راح تعتمد على الكومبريهنشن الاستيعاب مالتكم للقطعة. فهاي أمثلة على طريقة الأسئلة اللي راح تجي على القطعة. The question number 1. It can be inferred from the passage that porcupine bark, number 1, A, caused fevers. B, was ineffective in treating malaria. C, was described to the British Royal Society by Stone. And D, was in use prior to aspirin. The correct answer will be the letter D. Number 2, the pronoun it in line 4 refers to the letter A, malaria, B, willow bark, C, effectiveness, D, the British Royal Society. The correct answer is the letter B. طريقة الجواب عن الضمير إذا أجاك بالسؤال أنه ترجع قبل الضمير في سطرين تقرأ حتى تعرف أنه ضمير على أي كلمة يرجع. Number 3, the word properties in line 5 could best be replaced by A, ownership, B, body, C, characteristics, D, materials. The correct answer is the letter C. Number 4, what did the willow bark look like after Stone prepared it for his experiments? A, it was a large chunks. It was a large chunks. It was a thick liquid. It was a rough powder. It was in strips of bark. The correct answer will be the letter C.
دكتورة من رخص شنو جواب النقطة الثانية؟
النقطة الثانية. The pronoun it in line 4 refers to malaria, willow bark, effectiveness, the British Royal Society. علي مثل ما قلت لكم إذا جاكم طريقة السؤال عن الضمير إنه ترجع للقطعة بالضبط محدد لك السطر الرابع ترجع على السطر الرابع فقبل السطر الرابع المفروض بسطرين أنت تقرأ حتى تعرف إنه الضمير إت على شنو يرجع.
نعم دكتورة.
أي فعندنا هسه الضمير إت خلي نرجع وياها. هسه أنا ما راح أرجع سطرين راح أرجع أصلاً سطر واحد. هسه هاي Stone decided to test the effectiveness of the willow bark. ستون قرر أنه يختبر تأثيرات شجر الصفصاف. He obtained some. هو اختار بعض pulverized سحقهم. هم منو اللي سحقهم؟ إذا عرفت الترجمة راح تعرف الإجابة. راح أرجع وياك. Stone decided to test the effectiveness of the willow bark. راح تختبر الويلو بارك. He obtained some, pulverized it. عندك it راح ترجع على شنو؟ على ويلو بارك.
عضل المشي دكتورة. ما يصير.
عفوا دكتورة بس هي القطعة تجي من الكتاب يعني ما تجي إنه خارجية بامتحان نفسها هي القطعة.
لا تجي نفسيتها.
أوكي تمام.
Common difficulties while reading. Losing your place. You can lose your place two different ways. You can lose track of what word you are on at any point, or you can lose track of what line you are on when moving from one line to the next. Losing your focus. How many times have you been reading a passage and realized halfway through that you have no idea what you have just read? Not getting the point. Even though the words and sentences may make sense, you may not be able to put them together to get the meaning of the passage. Forgetting what you have read. You don't have to memorize all of the facts. Solution to reading problem. Read carefully and deliberately. Reread for mistakes and the content. Be patient with unfamiliar words. Try to avoid breaks during passage. Take notes. Trace your place. Mark the location of notes. Ask the reader to reread. Solution to common reading problems. There are certain steps you can take to alleviate the damage done by some of the previously mentioned reading problems. Just knowing about these techniques is not enough. Be sure to use and practice them as you read the sample passage. Number one, take breaks. Remember, cognitive fatigue can lead to all of the aforementioned problems and to other problems as well. If you don't rest your mind, you will likely get fatigued and it will lose your points. Trace your place. You can mark your place either by pointing to each word as you read it or by placing a sheet of paper underneath the line you are reading. Pointing to each word with a pencil or your finger can help your eye see what it should be reading. Placing a piece of paper under the line you are reading can help you to move smoothly from one line to the next. Read aloud. If you are in your own room, you can actually see each word aloud. If you must remain silent, mumble the words to yourself, or at least mouth the words, and say them in your head. It is important that you actually hear the sound, even if you only hear them in your imagination. Take notes. If you are thinking about what is important enough to write down, you will pay more attention to the reading. This will keep your mind from wandering, help you process the main point of the passage, and improve the likelihood you will remember things. Here are some things you should note: the subject and thesis of the passage, summary of each paragraph, anything important that happens with regard to the subject of the passage, anything that is discussed from more than a few sentences in long passage. Notes should be written in the margin next to the relevant text, so you can easily find the portion to which they refer. Notes about the entire passage, the thesis, should be at the bottom of the page. Our lecture is finished. Thank you, student.
Thank you, دكتورة.
Thank you.